this is a commemorative speech on Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt's regiment was like nothing ever seen before, made up of ex-cowboys, ex-con-men, Harvard, Yale, and Princeton men. Although Roosevelt's regiment was thought of as a joke, the press and the newspapers adored him. With my recent research, I'm about to tell you about this courageous, well-spoken president. The commemoration of Roosevelt's life has set the presidential standards high. Roosevelt's outstanding achievements inspire me not to give up and to fight for what is right. Although Roosevelt was raised in a very wealthy family, he lived a rough life early on. As a child, Roosevelt had suffered from severe asthma and weak eyesight that haunted him throughout his life, stated Cooper. In 1884, Theodore tragically lost his wife and mother on the same day. As a result, he left politics and spent 2 years at his cattle ranch in the Badlands, where he set his main focus on conservation of wildlife. Roosevelt tried to re-enter politics in 1886 when he ran for governor of New York, but sadly lost the election. He was still determined and was later appointed Assistant Secretary of the Navy by President McKinley. As Assistant Secretary, he fought for a bigger Navy and strongly encouraged war with Spain. After war was declared with Spain, Roosevelt organized a cavalry unit known as the Rough Riders. The Rough Riders charged up San Juan Hill and defeated the Spaniards. After the war was over, Roosevelt and the Rough Riders were thought of as heroes back home. When the news of the victory broke out, Republican bosses encouraged Roosevelt to run again for governor of New York. Roosevelt won the election and started fighting against corrupt officials and corporations. This angered the Republican bosses so much that they came up with a plan to get rid of Roosevelt. Their plan backfired. Their plan was to make Roosevelt vice president, which backfired after President McKinley's assassination when Roosevelt was now appointed president. As president, Roosevelt started fighting against political corruption. Roosevelt became well liked by the public and was re-elected in 1904. Towards the end of his second term, Roosevelt worked to peacefully end the Russo-Japanese War. He brought both countries to an agreement and was later awarded a Nobel Peace Prize in 1906. In conclusion, I would like to make a statement. Roosevelt fought to make what he thought was wrong right. Roosevelt worked hard for conservation and brought peace to the Russo-Japanese War. Roosevelt's outstanding achievements inspire me to not give up and to fight for what is right. Like Theodore Roosevelt, we must be courageous, determined, and fight for what is right. Here are some of his visual aids. This is Theodore Roosevelt National Park that he founded. Love conservation. And this is him in the Rough Riders. That's him in the middle right there. That was right after the war was over. Thank you for your time.